Hey guys, welcome back to another out of spec detailing video here from Clear Detailing in Northern Colorado. You guys know, or should know at this point, that my business Clear Detailing is really comes down to the bread and butter of paint correction and polishing excellence. So I take a lot of pride in the machines that I use. I've been a Rupes only user basically since I started my detailing business. I still think they are kind of some of the best polishers out there in the market. Not every single one of them. We'll talk about that more today. And while I was out at SEMA 2025, I came across this machine. Now, this machine has actually been out for a little while, and I also know some friends in the industry who have been really impressed by ShineMate products. And I talked with them out at the booth. They ended up sending me the EB212. This is a 3-inch cordless battery operated polisher to play around with. And I've actually been playing around with this for the last 2 months, getting corrections under my belts and really figuring out, is this something that is going to replace my Rupes machines, or is this just a cheaper alternative to something like the Mirka polisher? Well, that's what we're gonna find out today. So welcome back and let's jump into it. Now, like I said, I want to put this right up front here so you guys all know what's going on here. So ShineMate did send this out to me completely free of charge. That doesn't mean I'm going to give them sunshine and rainbows reviews. Any products I'm reviewing here, they are my actual opinions. You guys know I am not scared to speak my mind, whether I love something, whether I hate something, whether I feel kind of indifferent about it. And we're going to be checking this thing out, giving you my full unbiased opinions. So this is the ShineMate EB212 3-inch polisher. Now this retails in a kit that comes over here for $359. In that kit, you get a polisher, you get a single 2.5 amp hour battery, you get a battery charger, you also get this little hex tool to take off your backing plate, 2 pads, and this case here. Now, $359 seems like a decent deal. I would say my one drawback with this, I think you're gonna need more than one battery, especially in a professional detailing sense. You're gonna at least need a second battery here. So they have 2 different options. You can either go for another 2.5 amp hour, which retails at $59.99, or you can bump up to the 5 amp hour for $79.99. So you're definitely into this more than $400. And I really wish that is one thing ShineMate would do here, is include at least 2 batteries to keep up with the competition. I don't think anybody's realistically going to get by with only a single battery. Now, lifespan on these batteries, between 30 to 40 minutes of polishing based on the speed you are using at. There's 6 different speed controls. We'll get into that a little bit more. And fully charging another battery, especially 2.5 amp hour over here, right at 50 minutes. Now, I'll tell you, over the last 2 months, I have never got to a single point where, especially using the 2.5 amp hours over here, that I am waiting on a battery to finish charging before I can get back to polishing. And in fact, pretty much every single time I have one of these plugged into the charger base over here, I've been using this machine, I come back to it, it's fully charged, hot swap them, and I can just continue polishing on. Now, I think one of the big questions you guys are gonna have, should you elect for the 5 amp hour? I personally don't think you should. I actually like the overall form factor of this machine with the smaller batteries in it, so you can see how nice and sleek this is. Yes, it does stand up on its own like this. Ideally, you always want to put your machine down like this. Now it does rock a little bit more, especially compared to the 5 amp hour over here. So I can just pop that guy right in there. And you can see it's quite a bit more stable here and also quite a bit more stable here. But what I have found, especially working around more intricate areas and grills, that having this extra weight on the back, not only does it make the machine a little bit heavier, but just does get in the way a little bit more, as it's just overall a larger battery pack. So my personal preference has actually been using these, and I find myself rarely using the 5 amp hour. Now, I actually purchased this with my own money because I just wanted to try it out, see if it actually changed, and maybe upgrade to 2 of these. And honestly, I think it is more than satisfactory, even running a professional detailing operation here where I'm doing paint corrections and polishing as like my main amount of work in the shop here. The 2.5 amp hour, absolutely perfect for it. So based on price out there, I think, again, this sits in a good category, not a great. It's definitely a cheaper alternative to something like the Mirka out there, which is nearly $1,000 for that. But you also have some options like the Rupes HLR75. Now, this is arguably the biggest flop Rupes has ever made. This is one of the worst 3-inch polishers I have ever used. And I purchased one of these. I tried to use it for a little while, and I was just so displeased with it. Number one, it's just very odd how this thing is. The trigger on this, I know they had to come out with an updated trigger lock system on this. I'm just not a big fan of. You have to hold this down all the time. It's just a weird overall shape and design, and honestly just doesn't feel like Rupes, and I've been pretty disappointed in it. So I'm going to turn this on speed 1, let you guys hear this. Just not great. Again, 470 bucks here. Coming over here, $359 for that kit. Yes, you do need a spare battery in my opinion. Now the mics will definitely pick up, you know, different levels of volume here, but this, while I'm polishing, I can legitimately have a conversation with the person next to me, hear them completely, they can hear me completely, and it's really impressive. So you guys also notice there, I do have a trigger lock. So by doing that, you can either just hold this down and you're going to just do that. Once you release the trigger, it's going to shut off, or you can press this twice and it'll stay on, and you can polish this in whatever form or factor you want there. This little bad boy has been extremely, extremely impressive. Now, one of my other favorite polishers out there has been this bad boy from Rupes, and I have used this for years, but you'll notice there's a cord hanging on it. So this is the LHR75E. This retails at $330. In my personal opinion, before testing this, I think this is the best 3-inch machine on the market. Delivers plenty of power, reasonably quiet, reasonably comfortable, and just has a ton of torque. Typically, when I'm cutting on this thing, I'm using it at speed 2, polishing realistically on speed 1. I can get into concaves, things like that. You know, and that brings up a really interesting topic when it comes to battery polishers over here. And a lot of folks who I just personally don't really think understand paint correction and polishing. And the thing that I see over and over, you go to SEMA every year and you see, oh, we've got a new this polisher with, you know, X amount more power. And I'm just like, why are you guys using these things at speed 6 or 7? Realistically, when I'm cutting or polishing, especially on machines like this, I'm using them at between 1, maybe 3 max. I'm never cranking this thing up to 6. And I think it just comes from a lot of people buying products off of marketing rather than actually buying products of what actually works. And in fact, you actually get better results keeping the speeds down because you are swelling the paint less by putting less heat into the paint, and you are getting an overall better cut and a better finish overall. So I think that's one thing that I always see that's really frustrating, especially when it comes to any sort of polishers. People think they need the heaviest and most powerful polisher out there, when I actually find the opposite. You just want something that feels great at a lower speed, which is actually really hard to optimize. So this has been a great machine. Again, I just want to turn this on so you guys can hear it. This is on speed 1. You can hear it quite loud. So this is not something, I don't even know if you can hear me right now, that I could have a conversation with the person next to me. It also vibrates quite a bit. Now, all of these machines vibrate a little bit more without a pad on them. They do feel a little weird in that regard. But I think we are finally to the point here, and I know you guys have probably been saying this for a little while now, that we actually don't need the cord anymore. So that's why I was so intrigued by this little guy over here in terms of, would this actually replace my LHR75E, and could I just finally have a great compact 3-inch polisher? And I think the answer is yes. So not only do I think this is a better value than this hunk of junk, in fact, I think you should just throw this thing away if you have purchased one of these, or just never buy one, because they are absolute junk. Hate this polisher from Rupes. And like I said, I've been a Rupes only guy, so I had to buy one of these when it came out, and I basically stopped using it, went back to the corded version, and have been using that ever since. But playing around with this for the last 2 months and correcting, gosh, at this point, probably 8 to 10 cars, I can't go back. This thing absolutely blows me away. Now, again, at the price point, I think it's good, not great. Again, I think it needs to come with 2 batteries. I really don't care about this whole case. Okay, maybe if you're a mobile guy, this is a nice to have thing, but I don't want to pay for that when I'm purchasing a unit out here. So what I would like to see is basically just this. You also have this for your backing plate. I don't need any of this stuff. This would be perfect right here. I think if they could get the price to, you know, just under or even at $399 for this exact setup with 2.5 amp hour batteries, you're going to be good to go. So let's quickly talk about our controls on the back here. So I showed you guys how you can actually, you know, either hold this really nice and smooth. It is unbelievably quiet, this thing. Or you can do the trigger lock. You have to give it a second to turn back on. And it just holds it there. Now the cool thing about this is just turn it off. You can either press that or you can actually hit this button on here. I'll get some close-up shots for you guys so you can see what this looks like, and you can just hit the power button off there. Now the really cool thing with this unit is you have 6 different speeds with it. So if you do need to bump it up a little bit more, what I found is I've never come off of 1 speed, literally 1 on this thing. It just hammers through all of the, you know, intricate concave areas in there, and I never find myself stalling the pad. Also, if you didn't know, there's a lot of people out there that are like, you have to keep spinning the pad all the time, otherwise it's not going to cut. It still does cut, and it still is doing work. It's just not as much work. So I find myself, you know, tipping machines up on edge a little bit to get into those concave areas. I'll show you a little bit more of a demo downstairs when we get to playing with this thing a little bit. So the cool thing here, you can just dial this up. So the one thing that is weird about that, it only has 3 lights here on the right hand side of it, and you basically have 6 different controls. So one light only indicates, you know, 2 speeds. So you have your bottom, and then you'd go up 1. It doesn't actually give you another light. So it can be a little confusing which one you're actually on. Again, I'm just using it at speed 1 99% of the time. But the great thing here is once I turn this off, bring back on the settings, it's at exactly the same place as where I left it here. So that is a great thing with it. My only big negative with this entire system here that I like, but I don't necessarily like, so it's kind of this tricky conundrum here. I use 3-inch polishers a ton when I'm paint correcting and polishing vehicles. You know, I'm doing the larger, let's say we're working down a door, a larger, huge panel with a 6-inch machine, something like that. The lower rocker panels, I'll grab something like this. Now, I don't typically, when I'm paint correcting or polishing, go through and do the large areas and then come back and do all of these smaller areas. So typically, I've got 2 machines set up that I'm carting around the vehicle, use one, switch to the other, back and forth, all of this. What I find is I set this machine aside, and this actually has a little timer on it. I haven't really figured out how much it is. It feels like it's around 2 minutes or so, and it automatically shuts the machine off. So being that I'm kind of just in the groove, not really looking at the lights on here, a lot of the time I'll find myself, you know, picking up the machine like this, dabbing on my polish, going directly to the panel with my hand covering the lights there, and not realizing that it's actually not on. So then I have to stop real quick, turn it back on. Again, it's not the end of the world, but that's just something I've noticed, that a machine like this over here, just being able to quickly turn it on is a non-issue, and especially a machine like this, I can just quickly hit it on. So pros and cons to that, because the great thing is you don't have accidental, you know, trigger pulls on this like this machine does when you're on speed 1. Anytime I hit that, it automatically turns on, which I frequently do that. A lot of people know that. Rupes had to totally redesign that trigger system, all of that. So I think the other machine you guys are probably going to consider versus this, or consider buying maybe over this, is the Flex PXE 80, also known as the PXE. Now that machine has quite a bit of different functions in it. So you can have a rotary on it, a 3mm throw, or a 12mm throw. This is a 12mm throw option. Now the PXE retails at $469 with 2 batteries and with the charger, which again, I think ShineMate needs to do here, because I think a lot of people look online, you go, oh, this is $100 less than the PXE. Doesn't have all the functionality, seems like a great value. I would agree this is a great value. And also I think this machine is well more optimized for 3-inch polishing. The PXE, in my experience using it, I've never been a huge Flex fan. The PXE being, I think, one of their best machines they've made, doesn't necessarily feel optimized for a 3-inch polisher. Feels great for a 1 or 2-inch, you know, either rotary, 12 millimeter, 3 millimeter, whatever it is. But I really just don't like it at the, you know, 3-inch backing plate size. It just feels a little awkward, feels a little cumbersome, and just, you know, you're blowing through the battery, ripping around that 3-inch pad versus a 1-inch pad. So I personally think this is kind of the way to go, especially over the PXE. Now again, it's also nice with the PXE that you can have, you know, a tool that can do all of those things. My personal preference is to get a tool for the exact job and not have something that is not optimized for any. It's kind of that good at everything, but not great at one single thing. So I'd prefer great at one single thing. So other than that, my experience has been amazing with this. Cordless, of course, is just an absolute game changer as a detailer. I can't tell you how many times I'm tripping over cables. I'm, you know, having to untangle cords all the time. This is just phenomenal to carry around. It's very, very lightweight, even with the battery in it. And honestly, when you throw a pad on this thing, it is unbelievably smooth. Is it as smooth as a Mirka? No. But would I take this pretty much every single day over Mirka? Yes. And that's because this actually has a trigger lock that I don't have to sit there and hold the damn thing every single second I'm polishing a car. That just absolutely drives me nuts. So overall, I think it's a good value. For me, this has replaced my Rupes polisher, is now my go-to 3-inch machine. So now that we understand that, all the great benefits with this, let's head downstairs. I'll show you a few demos of using this on some panels, show you the speed and torque and just kind of overall feel of it, because I've been really impressed with this thing. All right, guys, so we're down here in the studio. We're working on the new Model Y here. So I'll just turn this on here. And again, you can see our speed controls. So I'm gonna go down to just 1 here. And again, I just love the ergonomics of this, the rubberized grip on here, even all the way down in here. It is just, it's awesome. Being a brushless machine as well is great. Now, I think the one thing a lot of people think, you know, this being a 10.8 volt seems a little low. A lot of the, you know, Ryobis and all of the other like hand tools we're using, typically 18 volt would seem a little low. This is speed 1 right here. Plenty of power. Now I'll show you up in some more concave areas. But you guys can hear how I'm literally having a conversation. This is just like background noise here, and the machine just feels perfect. And you can see I'm not holding the trigger, and it just gives such a smooth, effortless, both cut and polish on here. So now I can bump this up if I really want to. You can hear the different sounds to this. This is speed 3, and it just is so torquey and still very, very quiet. Again, in areas like this, even areas up here, speed 1 is more than perfect for it. Hit that, turn it off. It is just sublime to use. So impressed by this machine, how effortless it makes it. The vibration is very well dampened on this machine, and ergonomics wise, you know, the cool thing, once you get this thing started, you can hold it up here, you can hold it, you know, down here at the base, whatever you need to do. It's really nice. And especially with the size of this, you're not smacking it into a bunch of stuff. It just feels pretty much perfectly optimized for your hands and polishing. All right, so let's bring you guys up here into this concave area. So you can see there is a lot of concavity to this, which means a lot of the time, especially when you get started in here, your machine is going to stall. And again, that's the thing I've been so blown away with this machine, is just the amount of torque and power even at speed 1. So we'll fire this on here. We'll do kind of our normal pass here. I can pull this up here, pull it down. It's gonna start, it's not even stalling there. It started to stall, it's stalled right there. But again, then, if you know what you're doing polishing, you can lean this thing up on edge, perfectly spinning, you're getting all of your work done, it's smooth, and it's just amazing to use. And it's so easy to get in and out of those concaves. Sure, you can bump the speed up here if you want, but again, I've found on this, just giving the machine a little tilt, yes, you have less overall surface area, you're still getting correction done right there, and you're still polishing to perfection. So this machine, man, I have just been absolutely blown away with how quiet it is, how comfortable it is to use. It has just been amazingly, amazingly impressive to use. All right, guys, so that's been my 2-month ownership review with the ShineMate EB212 polisher. And like I keep saying here, I'm just completely blown away with this. I really did not expect to love this machine as much as I do, but it just feels, it honestly feels like perfectly optimized. Again, I think my biggest issue with it is the little dial control down here, it's shutting off. It's just a minor annoyance, but overall the weight is like perfect on this thing. It feels robust and heavy enough, but that it's not a super heavy machine that, you know, when I'm doing 12, 14-hour days of paint correction, my hands and my arms are just completely dead at the end of the day. And again, I personally think the 2.5 amp hour battery is the one to go with here. That's strictly what I've been using. I played around with the 5 amp hour and I like the overall form factor of this, and just charging the batteries, swapping them in and out seems not a problem for me at all. So again, I do think other biggest negative here, I really think price point wise, they need to be at $399 with 2 batteries included, or at least just include 2 batteries for whatever price point it's at. I think that's where they need to be. And again, personally, really just don't think the 5 amp hour makes all that much difference, but this thing has blown me away. I'm excited to see the Bosch options coming out and some other polishers that are coming out here in 2026. This for me though, huge, huge win. I'm really impressed by this, really like it. And yeah, maybe I'm not just a Rupes guy after all. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in another one soon. Bye-bye.